the outdoors not being white people shit seems to be causing a lot of anguish, a lot of pain, you know what I'm saying? A lot of grief, anger. And I want to address that. But first, I got to let y'all know a little bit about me. I don't believe I've done a proper introduction or at least like a longer biography. You know what I'm saying? So it's Itsnotiqbruh, Itsnotiqbruh. And right now, we're at one of my favorite locations. This is High Fall State Park. And if you've been following me on any of the other platforms, for example, like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you're pretty familiar with this area in regards to me talking about data center consumption, water consumption, and things like that. However, today I posted a video and it seems to be getting a lot of like hate, a lot of like anti-black comments because I wanted to destigmatize outdoors being white people shit. And from what I've learned about being in outdoors, it seems to be like a very inclusive community. You know what I'm saying? Very accepting of all people, no matter like nationality, uh, gender, orientation, ability, race, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's like one of the beautiful things about being outdoors. And recently, for whatever reason, there's been a lot of people, responding in a way as if they are in agreement with this idea that certain people don't belong in the outdoors, especially, black people. I'm assuming that's what they are saying based on the comments, you know what I'm saying? But before I even get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about me and how I began my journey into the outdoors. So I was raised in Georgia. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying that specifically because I was raised outside of the city of Atlanta. Although I would say I live in the metro Atlanta area, which means I had access to the city, whenever I wanted to. But however, I spent a lot of time outdoors, whether it be camping, uh, fishing, you know, kayaking or canoeing. You know what I'm saying? That's what I spent a lot of my childhood doing. Spent a lot of time in North Georgia. I would say that's where I spent the bulk of my outdoor experiences. You know what I'm saying, in North Georgia. And I never considered that this wasn't something that someone who looks like me, someone who's from where I'm from. Also, originally I'm from South Georgia, so where I'm from in South Georgia, you know what I'm saying? Albany, you know what I'm saying? Doherty County, like it's normal to be outside. You know what I'm saying? It's dirt roads, it's farms, it's fishing. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But I had no idea that being outdoors was not something that people who look like me weren't doing because the people who I was on these adventures with were my, friends, family, extended family. So to me, it was very normal. I didn't think I was doing something brave or special or different. So yeah. And also a lot of people know me from hiking some other platforms. Now, of course, I hike. But at the time I'm growing up, I'm not like really considering this as hiking. I'm just out in the woods. We're just out in the woods playing, getting from point A to point B, and just making sure we got the necessary tools to get where we need to go. This whole like idea and I guess I guess corporate corporatizing and commodifying of hiking. Of course, I'm a child. I got no reference points for none of that. So I'm just exploring the outdoors as I felt most children were. You know what I'm saying? So I really came up, hiking, kayaking, fishing, you know what I'm saying? Learning about wilderness, building fires, wilderness safety, self-preservation, things of that nature. But that was just my upbringing. Excuse me, I gotta watch out for snakes out here because it is hot, so they gonna try to regulate their temperatures or whatnot. They like to be on the watch. But anyway, so that's a little bit about my introduction into the outdoors, from a child. So I don't remember my first time going outdoors. I learned to swim very early. So I always had a love for, water, whether it be, creeks, lakes, waterfalls, oceans. I grew up in and around water. So a lot of these stigmas I didn't really recognize until I got a lot older, and primarily when I went viral, what I'm saying, on TikTok. So I had no idea that, these were things that quote unquote black people, what I'm saying, African Americans didn't do. I had no idea because who were the people that I was going on these adventures with, what I'm saying? What I'm saying, these black people, these my folks. So essentially I really had no idea. I can say this off the a little bit of shade right now. So I would say that that's a little bit about my entry point into the outdoors. Now, when I went viral, I believe it was 2021, thanks to a sound Jamila Jones or Sunny Day Jones created, you know what I'm saying? I added a video, a bunch of video clips of my adventures to a sound, her sound that was getting very popular on TikTok. And it was pretty much like a highlight reel. That was a spider. So it was pretty much a highlight reel of my adventures. Because whenever I would go into the outdoors, I would film my adventures. I didn't really have a purpose or a plan for what I would do with the footage. They were keepsakes for me, keepsakes for, things I could share, like a collage with my friends and family. And so that's essentially, why I was filming. But I had like drone footage. I had like, I think maybe GoPro footage, just like regular photos, what I'm saying, DSLR, digital photos or whatnot. And so I pretty much I created a video and I added that to the sound. That sound got very popular and people were, very like proud and inspired. I got a lot of messages, a lot of comments. I'll go into that story a little later, what I'm saying? Just an intro right now. But yeah, it was overwhelming. I went from maybe like 1,000. No, I ain't have 1,000 followers yet. So I probably went from like 700 followers to about 30,000 followers in 24 hours. So yeah, that was the journey from 700 on TikTok to 30,000 followers on TikTok, span of 24 hours. Even though my goal was to get 1,000 followers so I could go live on TikTok. And from there, I got a lot of recognition. I was invited, to come hike with people, to come camp with people. And I really had to think about how I was going to, utilize my platform at that time. And so, um, yeah, so I immediately wanted to like highlight other groups, other initiatives because I was well aware that there were like hiking groups, camping groups, and things like that that already existed. They just weren't like marketing and branding in a certain way to attract attention on social media. And that's what my expertise has been, social media. You know what I'm saying? Journalism, marketing, social media, like that's essentially what I have the most knowledge and skill set in. And so, I was like, well, let me highlight some of these groups, and that way we can get more people who are inspired by seeing me, a black man, outdoors, and that way it won't be like work necessarily, or pressure or overwhelming work that I would have to do, or that I would feel the need to do. Um, So yeah, that's essentially how everything really kicked off, and that is when I started, noticing people saying, "Man, it's great to see, a black man outdoors, hiking, camping, getting back to the land, getting close to the land, you know, getting familiar with our roots, reestablishing that connection, or even changing that connection to the land, because I can't say that I'm sure but a lot of black people's connection to the land is one of, forced labor, unpaid labor. You know what I'm saying? So whether that be, transatlantic slave trade, chattel slavery, and, forced prison labor, chain gang type shit, you feel me? So, um, yeah, so making sure that that wasn't the only association that we knew about being outdoors, that was something that people started to bring to my attention. And so, yeah, I just continued to, post my adventures, share my adventures, and yeah, that is essentially how all of this began. So I just want to say I appreciate everybody for, sharing, liking, posting, continuing to invite me out uh, to adventures, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, I just wanted to give you a little background about me before I went into how I'm feeling about a lot of the hateful and anti-black comments that I'm getting in reference to the outdoors. Um, so I'll start by saying my general disposition is I don't really care what y'all got going on, like how y'all feel, essentially about me saying outdoors is not white people shit, because most of my following and my audience are people who I'm in community with. Gotta watch for the snakes. These are people who, I'm familiar with, I have conversations with, like really outside, on the ground, grassroots, you know, real community connections. And so over time, because of my platform growing, my visibility growing, I get a lot of messages, and I hear a lot of stories about people who wanted to get into the outdoors, black people specifically. And I'll even say this, even more specifically, black women who wanted to, explore and go hiking and have these adventures, you know what I'm saying? Whether they be like camping, backpacking, even just going on for like a little cute, lake adventure, you know what I'm saying? A little cute, you know what I'm saying? We going to outdoors, we're gonna put on these outfits. It's just us, you know what I'm saying? I want to have this very whimsical yet ancestral ancestrally rooted experience outdoors, but people keep telling me that it's white people shit. So I really can't get people to go along with me to these adventures, because they're like, oh girl, that's white people shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's weird. That's strange. Now, that's not something I experienced, but that is something that people kept telling me over and over that they were experiencing, and things that I kept seeing online. So my message was more so a call coming from in the house. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't necessarily, for like um massive or a broad audience, even though I'm aware that once you post something on social, you really can't control where it goes, who sees it, how they, feel about it, how they digest it. And so I am aware of that. But, at the same time, if this where the people at, I'm going to go where the people are and get the message to them they can have the greatest impact. And, I've been hearing this for years, but since that wasn't my experience about it being white people shit, that's something new that I heard on social. Um, like I said, I grew up in the Metro Atlanta area, so very, very beautiful, black, diverse, non-monolithic place. So I'm seeing black people do anything and everything all the time. But I kept hearing from people around the country, um, you know, that that was the feelings and that was a sentiment toward them wanting to explore the outdoors. And so that's essentially why I made the post after all of these years of, hearing that sentiment shared by, Black people. So, I can't even say I hope that clears it up because this is just a message for the people who were curious. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to go do a bunch of videos explaining, why I said what I said, why I did what I did, or even really personally acknowledging, what I'm saying, some of the crazy anti-black comments that I'm getting. And something that I noticed, I'll say this, something that I noticed when I'm hiking, I'm black, so a lot of black people want to hike with me. Now, a lot of black people and a lot of people of other ethnicities and races, essentially, wherever the adventure is, that's where we tend to go, no matter who who the person is, no matter what their race, ethnicity, or anything like that is. And so that is very normal. Um, for whatever reason, that sentiment isn't really shared when it's a black person. There aren't a lot of people from other races or other ethnicities that want to join on these hikes. And so, and so when I take group hiking, I'm taking people on these outdoor experiences. Everybody is welcome. You know what I'm saying? The thing is, I'm not finna beg. I'm not finna force. I'm not finna go outside my body and do anything extra to attract people who are committed to not joining a good experience. You know what I'm saying? For someone who's been doing this for a long time, for decades, to someone who is wildlife, certified, you know what I'm saying? Someone who is a lifeguard. I would say been a lifeguard, but once you've been a lifeguard, you've been always a lifeguard for a number of years. And, someone who's trained in CPR. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when I'm taking groups out, we got people who are AD certified. And so I'm not finna beg, plead, you know what I'm saying? So the people that you see in my videos, if it's not specifically a group that is centered and focused on the well-being and the connection of black people in nature, it's generally anybody who wanna pop out, you know what I'm saying? You can pop out. I can't force nobody, and I'm not about to force nobody to be in my background. So what I did notice in the video, as far as like people commenting anti-black sentiment, it was very strange because the tropes and the analogies and a lot of the racial jokes were just centered around black people and hatred towards black people when the text of the video and even the caption is white outdoors is not white people shit. And outdoors is for all. So I find it very strange and it's very glaring the fact that I said outdoors is not white people shit. Outdoors is for all. The attack was specifically on black people, despite all the other races, ethnicities, etc., that were in my video. You know what I'm saying? The assumption of who I am, my ethnicity, my makeup, and the people around me, crazy because you have no idea. It just really let me know how, again, how anti-black so many people are. So yeah, that's me. Itsnotiqbruh, and a little bit of my story. I'm gonna continue posting, you know, on this channel. So thank y'all for tuning in. Itsnotiqbruh. We out.